I am the Namer, guardian of the names of power. Before your world even existed, my people were an ancient race. Now they are gone, and only I remain, keeper of my people's history. Across the endless tracts of space have I traveled, to return to the planet of my birth, Zoidstar. Though my people perished long ago, and their cities were buried by the shifting sands, the machines remain. It is these that have brought me here to perform the last act of the Zoidarian race, the giving of the names of power. When my race was young and had an interest in the affairs of the galaxy, they built the machines, mighty engines of destruction which gave the power of life and death over the other creatures in the galaxy. The Zoidarians turned their gaze outward and laid waste to 1,000 star systems with their machines, their Zoids. But ruling a galaxy was not enough for the Zoidarians. It was not the conquests, but the battles they enjoyed. And though all intelligent life trembled in the shadow of the Zoids, my people battled on, machine against machine, Zoidarian against Zoidarian, in the further pursuit of glory. Zoidarian lives were needlessly sacrificed to the god of battle, and the race dwindled in numbers until the elders outlawed the Zoid duels. But they couldn't outlaw the Zoidarian love of combat. The Zoidarian pilots of the giant war machines were replaced by androids, and thus the heroic combat could continue without threat to Zoidarian life. Too late came the order. Too late to save a once mighty race from extinction, and now only I remain. Only I and the Zoids. And though my people created the Zoids, I have no power to control them. For the war machines have become the living embodiment of the Zoidarian thirst for combat, with lives and wills of their own. They exist only to fight, to ensure that their heroic combat lasts for all eternity. Now I stand on the sand-blasted surface of a world I used to call home, high on a rock, scanning the horizon for some sign of movement, knowing that out there, behind the sand clouds, lurk the deadliest war machines in the universe. It begins!
The dice as planets spin. It's just a need for this empire goes all in. Third war against the Republic they wage. CAC to a body to a rage. War rage. From the dark continent they cross the sea, assisted by Galos, their killing spree. Mighty new Zoids reach the shore and invade. But the Dimetrodons, they won't be swayed. Dimetrodons, still back, spine, sham, radar. Dimetrodons, spreading anti-scans on far. Dimetrodons, they like the Republic. Dimetrodons, silence the comms real quick. With red armor and black steel, they stand forth. Cybernetic Dimetrodons blind swarm, whispering gears and backplates, rhythm sway. Dimetrodons keep the public eyes at bay. Dimetrodons stop the feet and swing their tails, chopping jaws and green glow eyes tell the tale. Ancient mechanical beasts with sails large. Dimetrodons keeps the army in charge. Dimetrodons, still back, spine, sham, radar. Dimetrodons, spreading anti-scans on far. Dimetrodons, they like the Republic. Dimetrodons, silence the comms real quick. But now come Zoids to test the Dimetrodons. It's our radar shroud. Dimetrodons push them back and stand proud. Zoids, still back, spine sham radar. Dimetrodons spread empty scans so far. Dimetrodons deny the Republic. Dimetrodons silence the comms real quick. Dimetrodons spread empty scans so far. Dimetrodons deny the Republic. Dimetrodons. Abandoned Zoidstar, the blue Zoids feel the loss. Through the ranks, the black Zoids guns cut across. Blown to bits, many blue guardians slain. Now they must rebuild, restore and regain. Blue Zoid factories power to work, only to create Zoids with an odd quirk. Feral and savage, the most the machines run, as the war with the renegades had begun. Spinefin, Dimetrodon of red metal. Spinefin, his rebellion we will settle. Spinefin, vicious and savage with green eyes. Spinefin, monster machine stomps, snaps and cries. To uphold the renegades, so it's go rogue. Crisis for blue guardians now in vogue. Spinefin black metal, back plates oscillate to send out his wide radar jamming hate. But Spinefin fights his fellow renegade. Shield tiger attacks with no call for aid. Monster machines crash and fight without end. No allies to signal, none to call friend. Spinefin, Dimetrodon of red metal. Spinefin, his rebellion we will settle. Spinefin, vicious and savage with green eyes. Spinefin, monster machine stomps, snaps and cries. To a false renegade, Zoids go rogue. Crisis for blue guardians now in vogue. Spinefin's black metal, back plates oscillate. Send out his wide radar jamming hate. Fights ferociously without cause. Shield tiger retaliates the steel roars. The cybernetic Dimetrodon beast. Spinefin steel fury will not be policed. Spinefin, Dimetrodon of red metal. Spinefin, his rebellion we will settle. Spinefin, vicious and savage with green eyes. Spinefin, monster machine stomps, snaps and cries. Spinefin, Dimetrodon of red metal. Spinefin, his rebellion we will settle. Spinefin, vicious and savage with green eyes. Spinefin, monster machine stomps, snaps and cries.
unending battle between red and blue Zoids. It has been waged for centuries. It rages still, with no end in sight.
The Namer, last of the Zoidarians, guardian of the names of power, keeper of the legend of heroic combat, have spoken.